I am concerned about, above all, President Biden. And that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So once again yesterday, Mr. Biden goes out on a campaign stop, which is what these speeches are all about, and he says this. Go.
Folks, and by the way, you know, you hear ads of the big spending Joe Biden. In 2 years, I reduced the debt $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion. The largest deficit reduction in American history.
Okay. So he didn't reduce the debt $1.7 billion. He meant to say $1 trillion, but he doesn't know what he's saying. And then the people in the audience are like seals. I mean, if you listen to the words, I reduced the debt $1.7 billion. That's nothing. He gives that to Ukraine every Thursday. So it doesn't make any sense, but there's people listening to him, they're zombies. All right, so he says he meant trillion, all right? He reduced the debt $1.7 trillion. That's what he says. That's not even close to being true. It's not even in the universe of truth. Here is the truth. So since he's been in office, President Biden has increased the national debt by $4 trillion, from 28 to 32 trillion, okay? That's since he's been in office. 2 years, 4 trillion, that averages 2 trillion a year up. Far more than any other president in history. Okay. Now, then he gets into the deficit. So the national debt is the accumulation of all government spending that we have not paid for back eons, okay? The deficit is year to year. So Biden says, well, I've cut the deficit. That's true because the COVID spending, the checks to you, small business, whatever, stopped. So during COVID, the deficit spending was here. When the check stopped, it automatically came down. Biden had nothing to do with it. That was a congressional mandate. So Joe Biden gets up there, and this is all he had to do all day. He didn't do anything else. Give one speech about the economy, and he couldn't do it. He confused billion with trillion, and he confused the deficit with the debt. That's why I'm worried. Okay? Now, let's carry it a step further. He is thinking about running for president again. Now, you may think that Joe Biden has done a good job, and that's your right to think that. 42% of Americans think he's okay. To me, it's astounding, but they're probably like the people in the Virginia speech where they just clap and they don't listen and they don't know the difference between a billion and a trillion. And I don't want to be supercilious, word of the day here, arrogant, but come on. So he wants to run again. And he has no idea what he is saying. So he can't campaign because he's not going to be able to go out there day after day and give speeches when he can't even give one speech. All right? He's not going to be able to do that. So he'll do the same thing he did last time, is he'll stay in the house. And that's not what we need here. We have vexing problems that need to be solved. Vexing problems, the border, inflation, on and on and on and on. Overseas, you all know them. Okay, so the President of the United States, step back. We've had a few buttes, okay? Millard Fillmore, Pierce, James Buchanan. I mean, we've had some bad ones. Herbert Hoover, Warren Harding. But they all at least were cognizant, because I have letters from all of them, letters that they wrote. Not to me, I wasn't alive, but they wrote letters. Biden's not that. He can't. He can't. Not won't. And I know a lot of you think he's a liar and he's lying and he's this and he's that. He cannot absorb information. He can't. He's at that stage in his life where he cannot do it. So who emerges as the big villain here in Biden world? It's got to be his wife. And she looks like a nice woman, teacher, all of that, but she's got to know what state, what mental state he's in. And there she is running around. She doesn't want to give up the first ladyship. Want to live up all those perks. Okay? She'd push him out the door. Whereas somebody else might say, is this good for the country? Yeah? Now, rationalizations all day long, you know what that is. Okay? Everybody does it. But Jill Biden is emerging as a villainess here, in my humble opinion. And that's the memo.